Have you ever wondered how to get everything in your photo to look sharp and clear, even when you're capturing a wide landscape or a detailed city street? The secret lies in the F11 Photography Rule. The F11 Rule is a simple but powerful trick for photographers, especially when shooting outdoors, during the day, or in bright conditions. It's one of those rules that, once you know it, you'll find yourself using again and again because of the dramatic improvement it can bring to your photos. Let's dive right into what this rule is and how you can use it to take your photography to the next level. The F11 rule refers to the camera's aperture setting. If you set your camera's aperture to f11, you can ensure that most of your shot is in focus. This rule is great for landscapes, city scenes, and even portraits where you want both the subject and background to be sharp. Now let's break it down further. The F11 rule is perfect for shooting landscapes. When you're out in nature, surrounded by wide open spaces, you want everything in focus, from the close-up details like rocks or plants, all the way to the sky. The F11 aperture allows you to do this. It brings the entire scene into focus and adds depth to your photos. On a bright, sunny day, using F11 helps you avoid overexposure. Since less light enters the lens at f11, your camera will adjust by letting in just the right amount of light to capture the scene perfectly. You won't end up with photos that are too bright or washed out. Alright, so if you're shooting and want to ensure that every part of your photo is sharp, f11 is your go-to setting. This aperture keeps the foreground, middle ground, and background sharp and focused. No soft, blurry edges, just crisp, detailed images. Now, the F11 rule works hand in hand with the rule of thirds. If you're familiar with the rule of thirds, it's a composition technique where you divide your image into a 3x3 grid, placing key elements along the grid lines or intersections. F11 helps you maintain clarity and focus, while the rule of thirds helps you place those sharp, focused elements in the best parts of your frame. While many photographers prefer using a wider aperture to blur the background in portrait shots, F11 can work wonders when you want the background to stay in focus too. Just imagine taking a portrait in front of a beautiful landscape or a historic building. F11 will keep both your subject and the background sharp. If you're using F11 in lower light conditions, it's helpful to use a tripod. Because F11 limits the amount of light entering the camera, your shutter speed might slow down, which could lead to blur if the camera isn't steady. A tripod ensures you get sharp results, even with a slower shutter speed. When shooting buildings or structures, you want sharp lines and details, right? F11 is perfect for architectural photography because it captures every detail clearly. This works great when you're photographing tall buildings or intricate designs that need to be shown with precision. Believe it or not, F11 is fantastic for moon photography. The moon is bright and you don't want to overexpose it. With F11, you can capture all the little details of the moon's surface without blowing out the highlights. You'll get the texture of the craters and the natural shadows on the moon's surface. Adjusting ISO for balance. When you use F11, sometimes you might need to adjust your ISO to keep the right exposure. If your photo is too dark, increasing the ISO can help brighten the image. But be careful not to raise it too high, or your image could get grainy. Shutter speed matters. Since F11 limits light, you may need a longer shutter speed to properly expose your photo. A slower shutter speed allows more light to reach the sensor, balancing out the reduced light in the narrow aperture. Avoiding lens diffraction. Lens diffraction can make the edges of your photos look soft or fuzzy, especially with very small apertures. F11 is a sweet spot that avoids this problem, helping to keep your entire image sharp without losing quality. For those interested in street photography, F11 is a great option because it ensures that everything in the scene is in focus, from the people to the buildings and other details. You'll capture the hustle and bustle with clarity and detail. Ever wanted to capture a photo where everything looks like it's in focus, from right in front of you to as far as you can see? F11 gives you that infinite focus feel. This is especially useful when shooting large, sweeping landscapes. A polarizing filter can be used with F11 to enhance colors and reduce glare, especially in outdoor settings. The combination of F11 and a polarizing filter creates images with deeper colors, reduced reflections, and less glare from water or glass surfaces. When using F11, it can be beneficial to focus manually. Autofocus might not always hit the mark, especially when shooting in tricky lighting conditions. By manually focusing, you can ensure that your subject is tack sharp. If you love travel photography, F11 is your friend. When you're capturing famous landmarks, cityscapes, or landscapes during your adventures, F11 helps you get every detail from the scene. You'll return home with sharp, detailed memories of your travels. F11 can even be used for macro photography, when you want more of your subject in focus. While macro shots often use a shallow depth of field, F11 can be helpful when you want the entire subject, like a flower or an insect, in clear focus. Hey, real quick, if you're finding these tips helpful, don't forget to hit the like button, subscribe to our channel, Photo Tech Guy, and share this video. Your support helps us bring more useful guides like this to you. Now, let's get back to the video. Oh, before I forget, check out the links in the description for amazing cameras and more. Now, really, back to the video. When your photos are sharp and well exposed, thanks to F11, you'll find post-production a breeze. Sharp photos with good exposure reduce the need for heavy editing, leaving you with more time to shoot and less time at the computer. Ever taken a group photo where some people are in focus and others are blurry? F11 fixes that. It ensures that everyone in the group, from the front row to the back, is in focus and sharp. For action shots in bright conditions, like outdoor sports events, F11 can work well. It keeps everything in focus, even if your subjects are moving quickly. You'll capture the action with clarity. F11 works with most lenses, so whether you're using a zoom lens or a prime lens, you'll find this rule easy to apply. Try it with different lenses to see how the sharpness and focus change with each one. F11 is also a great choice when photographing reflections, whether in water or glass. The narrow aperture keeps the reflection sharp without overexposing the reflective surface. High dynamic range, HDR photography, is when you take multiple exposures and blend them to capture a wide range of tones. Using F11 while shooting HDR scenes helps ensure that each shot in your sequence is sharp, making the final blended image even better. If you're new to photography, F11 is an excellent place to start when learning about aperture. It's a middle-of-the-road setting that provides a good balance of light control and focus, helping you understand how changing the aperture affects your images. Lastly, while the F11 rule is fantastic for many situations, don't be afraid to experiment. Photography is all about finding what works best for you and your style. Try F11 in different conditions and see how it changes the look of your photos. The F11 Photography Rule is an incredibly helpful tool that works in a variety of settings, from landscapes to architecture, portraits to action shots. Whether you're a beginner or an experienced photographer, this rule gives you a reliable way to keep your images sharp and clear. The next time you're out with your camera, give it a try. No excuses. Shoot for the moon and see how F11 can transform your photography. Thanks for sticking around. If you found this video helpful, make sure to like, share, and subscribe. Don't forget to hit that notification bell so you never miss a tip or trick to up your photography game. Keep shooting and keep exploring. See you in the next video.